Ego, it whispers lies in your success and screams when you fail. But what if I told you that your greatest enemy is not the world, not your haters, but the voice inside your head? This video is not just a summary. We've combined 25 life-changing lessons from Ryan Holiday's Ego is the Enemy into 10 powerful chapters, each one crafted to help you conquer pride, embrace humility, and unlock your full potential. Whether you're starting out, winning big, or facing failure, this video is your mental training ground. Don't skip, don't click away, because the ego wants you to ignore this. And if you do, it wins. Stay till the end. Your future self will thank you. Chapter 1. Kill your ego before it kills your dreams. You've felt it, haven't you? That fire, that hunger, that dream bigger than anything around you. You're not just here to exist, you're here to do something that matters. But here's the hard truth no one tells you at the start. Ego doesn't just appear when you succeed. It shows up the moment you say, I want to be great. It pretends to be your biggest cheerleader. But in reality, it's your silent enemy. When you aspire to achieve something, whether it's building a career, starting a business, writing a book, or becoming the best version of yourself, your ego whispers lies. I already know enough. I deserve success now. I'm different. I'm special. I shouldn't have to wait. But those lies, they are traps. The moment you start believing them, you stop learning. You stop listening. You stop growing. Ryan Holiday says this: ego is the enemy of what you want and of what you have, of mastering a craft, of real creative insight, of working well with others, of building loyalty and support. And he's right. Look around you. How many brilliant people never make it because they couldn't handle rejection? How many dreams die quietly because someone felt entitled to results without doing the work? Humility is your shield. Curiosity is your sword. You don't need to act big to become big. You don't need to post about your journey before you've even taken the first step. You don't need praise, you need purpose. And that purpose must be bigger than your pride. In the early stages of our journey, what we need most is the discipline to be invisible, to show up in silence, to put in the work when no one is clapping, to learn, absorb, and become, not for validation, not for likes, but because you owe it to the person you're becoming. So let me ask you, do you want to impress the world, or actually impact it? Because if your goal is only to be seen, you'll miss the transformation happening behind the curtain. But if your goal is to grow, to build, to serve, you must first kill your ego. Kill the need to be the loudest. Kill the fantasy of instant success. Kill the expectation that the world owes you anything. No one owes you support. No one owes you applause. But if you show up with humility, with hunger, and with the heart of a student, you become unstoppable. This chapter isn't just a warning. It's a reminder. Your dream is real, but only if you protect it from the ego that wants to destroy it. Kill your ego before it kills everything you were born to become. Chapter 2. Be a student always. When was the last time you truly felt like a beginner? Not pretending to know, not acting like you have it all figured out, but simply saying, teach me. That mindset, the student mindset, is where real power begins. But ego? Ego hates that. Ego tells you you already know enough. You've learned the hard way. You're better than this. But that voice is a liar. The truth is, the most powerful people in the world, the thinkers, leaders, creators, athletes, entrepreneurs, they all have one thing in common. They never stop being students. Ryan Holiday reminds us that greatness doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from knowing how little we know and being okay with that. We live in a world where everyone wants to appear smart, appear confident, appear successful. But the real ones? They're learning in silence. They're sitting at the feet of others. They're soaking up knowledge like sponges, while everyone else is busy posting about how wise they are. There is no shame in not knowing. There's only shame in pretending you do, and missing the lesson that could have changed your life. Becoming a student doesn't mean giving up your strength. It means building it. It means asking for help. It means listening more than you speak. It means observing, absorbing, and applying, even when no one is watching. You want to master your craft? Then sweep the floor first. Do the boring stuff. Watch, listen, follow. Not forever, but long enough to respect the process. Every master was once an apprentice. Every leader was once lost. Every voice of wisdom once sat in silence, soaking up everything they could from those who came before them. Ego says, skip the line, you're special. But the student mindset says, earn it, build it, become worthy. If you want to last, you must learn. If you want to lead, you must follow first. If you want respect, you must give it to the process of growth. There is no shortcut. There is no fast-forward button on becoming extraordinary. There is only the slow, steady work of a student who's not in love with fame, but in love with becoming better. So stay a student, stay hungry, stay humble, because the moment you think you've arrived is the moment you stop growing, and that's when ego takes the wheel. This is your invitation, not just to learn something, but to become someone. Be a student, always. Chapter 3, Silence over Noise. In today's world, it feels like everyone is shouting their opinions, shouting their wins, shouting for attention. But the people who truly build something meaningful, they work in silence. They don't need to announce every move. They don't need a stage or applause or validation, because they understand something that ego never will. It's not what you say, it's what you do. We live in a time where the loudest often get noticed first, but noise doesn't equal value, and attention doesn't equal achievement. Your ego wants you to talk. It wants you to post about your dreams before you've even taken the first step. It wants you to look successful before you become successful. But here's the truth. The real ones are quiet. The real ones are building while others are bragging. You know what's more powerful than telling people your plan? Letting them see the results. There's a story in every silent room where someone is staying up late doing the hard, unglamorous work while the rest of the world scrolls for likes. That's where greatness is born. Ryan Holiday writes, "Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know." And that's the spirit of this chapter. Talk less, do more. Let your results scream while your ego stays quiet. You don't need to tell everyone you're going to make it. Just make it. You don't need to prove yourself to people who aren't even watching. You need to prove it to yourself. The greatest athletes, thinkers, artists, they don't need to brag. Their work does the talking. Their legacy speaks louder than their words ever could. So if you're working right now, building something, chasing a dream, and you feel invisible, good, stay there. Stay in the shadows a little longer. Because silence is your advantage. Silence builds focus. Silence fuels momentum. And when it's time, the world will see what you've created, not because you shouted about it, but because you quietly became undeniable. Don't waste your energy chasing noise. Use it to sharpen your skills. Use it to improve, grow, and become. Ego wants a microphone, but purpose? Purpose just wants results. So let your silence be discipline. Let your silence be power. Let your silence be your story. Because when the time comes, your work will speak so loudly, you won't have to say a single word. Chapter 4, Detach from the outcome. You want to win. You want to succeed. You want the dream to come true. The recognition, the reward, the applause. And that's natural. But the truth is, the more obsessed you become with the outcome, the more the outcome controls you. It starts with passion. But slowly, ego sneaks in and twists that passion into pressure. If I don't hit this goal, I've failed. If I don't get the results, what was the point? If people don't see me win, am I even worth anything? That's the trap. Ryan Holiday teaches us that the secret to long-term greatness is this: focus on the process, not the prize. Detach from the outcome, because the outcome is a ghost. It's a shadow you can't control. The market, the audience, the timing, they're never fully in your hands. But your effort, your craft, your discipline, those belong to you. When your energy is wrapped around results, you start making decisions based on fear. You rush, you cut corners, you compare, you doubt, you forget why you started in the first place. But when you fall in love with the process, the late nights, the early mornings, the grind no one sees, that's when you become untouchable. Because win or lose, you're growing. Because success becomes a byproduct, not the only purpose. Think about a sculptor chipping away at a block of stone. She doesn't swing her hammer thinking, will this go viral? She focuses on each stroke, each detail. Because the work is the reward. Let go of the scoreboard. Let go of the finish line. Let go of needing the world to clap. And instead, show up. Each day, each moment. Give everything to the process and let the outcome take care of itself. Ego wants the result, purpose wants the rhythm. Detach. Not because you don't care, but because your heart is in the work, not the trophy. You don't need to win today. You just need to build momentum. And that happens not when you chase the dream, but when you commit to the journey. So breathe. Focus. Begin. Fall in love with the steps, not the spotlight. Because when the spotlight finally comes, you'll be too busy mastering your craft to even notice. Chapter 5. Control the narrative in your head. The most powerful voice in your life isn't the critics, isn't the applause, isn't even your closest friend. It's the one that lives inside your head. That voice, it tells stories all day long. You're not good enough. You're way better than them. You'll never make it. You're going to change the world. But here's the question. Are those stories true, or are they just noise? Ryan Holiday says the ego isn't always loud and arrogant. Sometimes it hides in the stories we silently tell ourselves, stories that inflate us or crush us, stories that make us the hero of every moment or the victim of every situation. And if you're not careful, those stories become your truth, even if they're built on lies. So how do you protect yourself? By staying honest. Brutally honest. By stepping outside of your mind and asking, is this story helping me or hurting me? Am I growing, or am I just feeding my ego? Ego wants you to create a fantasy where you're always right, always special, always ahead. But growth demands you stay grounded in reality, even when it hurts. Because if you start believing your own hype, you'll stop improving. And if you start believing your darkest doubts, you'll never begin. You must become the editor of your own mind. Catch the lies. Challenge the ego. Rewrite the script. Instead of, I should be farther by now, say, I'm building something real, and real takes time. Instead of, I failed, I'm not good enough, say, I failed, and now I'm learning. Control the narrative, not by sugarcoating life, but by choosing truth over delusion, clarity over comfort, perspective over pride. It's not about being harsh with yourself, it's about being honest enough to grow. Because when your mind is filled with truth, you move with clarity, you lead with wisdom, you become someone who doesn't just look strong, you actually are. So don't let ego write the story. Take the pen back. Write your story in facts, in growth, in reality. Stay grounded, stay honest. Because the voice in your head, it can be your worst enemy or your greatest ally. The choice is yours. Chapter 6. Handle success like a servant, not a master. Success. It's what you worked for. You dreamed it, you sacrificed for it. And now it's here, or maybe it's on the horizon. But here's the part no one warns you about. Success is not always a blessing. Sometimes it's a test. And the ego? It loves success. Because success gives it a spotlight, a mirror, and an invitation to take control. After all your effort, your ego whispers you made it, you're better than them. You don't need advice anymore. Now they should listen to you. But hear me clearly. The moment success becomes your master, you stop growing. You stop listening. You stop being hungry. You stop remembering who you were before the praise arrived. Ryan Holiday says, success is intoxicating, but humility is what keeps us sober. That's why you must hold success with care, not like a king sitting on a throne, but like a servant who knows the real work has just begun. The spotlight is temporary. The praise is fleeting. But who you become during success, that's permanent. You see, real strength isn't proven by how high you rise, but by how deeply rooted you stay while rising. Success can lift your name, or it can inflate your ego. It can elevate your platform, or disconnect you from the ground you came from. So stay grounded. When people praise you, smile, but don't inhale it. When they say you're the best, thank them, but return to your craft. When doors open, walk through them humbly, remembering how long you stood outside waiting. Let success be your servant. Fuel for the mission, not the mission itself. Let it remind you of responsibility, not superiority. Because the world doesn't need another ego with a platform. It needs leaders with purpose. So the next time you succeed, don't ask, how can I protect this spotlight? Ask, how can I serve with this success? Because when you lead like a servant, you stay sharp. You stay human. And most importantly, you stay free from the ego that wants to own you. Chapter 7. Don't let victory breed vanity. Victory is sweet. It feels like validation, Like every struggle, every sacrifice, every late night finally paid off. You're seen, you're respected, and in that moment, the world starts to listen. But here's the danger. Victory whispers to the ego, you're different now. You're above them. You've arrived. And that is how vanity is born. The same success that lifted you up can be the very thing that breaks you. Ryan Holiday reminds us, ego doesn't just attack when we're weak. It shows up when we're strong, when we think we're untouchable, when we stop checking ourselves because everything seems to be going right. But you see, ego after success is silent and sneaky. It doesn't scream. It smiles. It says, take it easy now. Let others do the hard part. You've earned it. And slowly, you stop showing up with hunger. You start protecting the image instead of building the mission. You talk more. You listen less. You become more concerned with being known than being real. That's how leaders fall. That's how artists lose their spark. That's how greatness fades. Not because they lack talent, but because ego made them forget what got them there in the first place. Don't let victory become your prison. Don't let applause turn into arrogance. Don't let success blind you from the truth. You're still learning. You're still building. You're still human. Celebrate your wins. You've earned them. But don't worship them. Because the moment you think you've figured it all out, life will find a way to humble you. Stay alert. Success is a moment. Growth is a lifetime. The strongest people are the ones who win and still act like they're just getting started, who stand on the podium and still show up early the next morning to practice, who hear the praise and return to silence, knowing the work never ends. So enjoy the victories, but wear them loosely. Be proud, but not prideful. Be grateful, not greedy. And remember, it wasn't ego that brought you here. It was discipline, humility, and heart. So don't trade them in now. Chapter 8. Survive failure without losing yourself. Failure. It hits hard. Sometimes it knocks the air out of your lungs. Other times it quietly settles in and whispers, maybe you're not good enough. But here's the truth most people avoid saying. Failure is not the end. It's a mirror. A brutal, honest mirror that doesn't flatter, but reveals. And in that reflection, you face a choice. Will you use this pain to grow, or will you let your ego pretend it never happened? You see, ego hates failure. It doesn't want to be humbled. It doesn't want to admit weakness or accept that maybe this time you weren't ready. So it finds someone to blame. It makes excuses. It hides the hurt behind anger or silence. But growth? Growth begins the moment you stop protecting your pride and start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Ryan Holiday reminds us, failure doesn't define you. How you respond to it does. When you lose something, a job, a relationship, an opportunity, it feels like the world sees you as less. But the truth is, you are not your mistake. You are not your fall. You are what you build after the fall. Some of the most powerful transformations happen not on the mountaintop, but in the valley. When there's no applause, when no one's watching, when your only company is your thoughts, and your heart asking if you still believe in yourself. And you should. Because failure strips away the fake. It strips away the noise, the ego, the illusion, and leaves you with something raw, the truth. Were you doing it for attention or for purpose? Were you chasing perfection or progress? Did you learn? Did you grow? You don't survive failure by pretending it didn't hurt. You survive it by facing it fully, by sitting in the silence, by asking hard questions, and then by standing back up. Not to prove anything to the world, but to prove to yourself that this dream still matters. Every person who's done something great has failed. Not once, but many times. But they didn't let failure become their identity. They let it become their teacher. So breathe, reflect, reset. Failure may shake your ego, but it can also awaken your soul. And when you rise again, slower, wiser, stronger, you'll know something the ego never taught you. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to evolve. Chapter 9. Always stay a student of life. Life is the greatest classroom, and every day brings a new lesson, if you're willing to stay humble enough to learn. No matter how far you go, how much you earn, or how many people admire you, the moment you stop learning is the moment you start falling. Many people think success is the finish line, that once they make it, they no longer need to grow. But success isn't a destination, it's a moving target. And only the ones who keep evolving stay in the game. Think about it. The world is constantly changing. Technology, people, industries, even your own mindset is never static. If you're not adapting, you're falling behind. The smartest people in the world aren't the ones who claim to have all the answers. They're the ones who keep asking better questions. Even after writing bestsellers, creating masterpieces, or building empires, real masters return to the basics. They read, they observe, they listen more than they speak, they ask for feedback, even when it hurts, because they understand there is no growth without discomfort. Failures especially carry powerful lessons. When things fall apart, you get clarity. You see what didn't work, what you ignored, and where you need to rebuild. But here's the catch. You'll only grow if your ego steps aside. If you stop blaming the world and start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Likewise, success can teach you too, but only if you don't let it blind you. When things go right, it's easy to get lazy, overconfident, or arrogant. That's why it's just as important to reflect on victories as on defeats. What did you do right? What can still be better? Where were you just lucky? Always staying a student of life means never outgrowing your curiosity. It means staying teachable, no matter how high you rise. It means being willing to start from scratch, to ask for help, to read, to listen, and to understand that even the wisest minds are always under construction. Let this chapter remind you, your title doesn't matter, your bank balance doesn't matter, your followers don't matter. If you're not growing, you're shrinking. So ask yourself today, not how successful am I, but what am I learning right now? Because that's the real measure of progress. And that's how you stay sharp, grounded, and truly alive. Chapter 10. Purpose over passion. Choose meaningful goals over selfish ambition. We live in a world that screams, follow your passion, as if passion alone is the key to a meaningful life. But passion fades. It burns bright in the beginning, but without purpose behind it, it dies the moment things get tough. Passion is emotional. It's exciting, thrilling, intoxicating even. But purpose is steady. It's what holds you together when everything else is falling apart. You see, passion asks, what do I want to do? Purpose asks, what does the world need from me? And when those two align, when your passion meets a real purpose, you become unstoppable. But if you chase passion without meaning, you risk building castles in the sand. They might look beautiful from a distance, but one strong wave, and they vanish. We've all been there, excited about a dream, driven by ambition, only to feel empty once we reach the goal. Why? Because it was never rooted in something deeper. Maybe it was to prove someone wrong. Maybe to gain fame. Maybe to look successful. But none of that lasts. Purpose, on the other hand, doesn't depend on applause. It doesn't need a stage. It survives failure. It survives boredom. It even survives silence. Because purpose isn't about how the world sees you. It's about what you bring to the world. Some of the most fulfilled people aren't the ones chasing passions like wild horses. They're the ones who wake up every day with a sense of duty. They give. They serve. They build. Not because it's always fun, but because it matters. Think of the nurse who works 12-hour shifts not for the money, but because she saves lives. Or the teacher who keeps showing up, not for appreciation, but because they believe in the power of education. That's purpose. It's not flashy, but it's powerful. Your purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It just has to be real. It can be raising your family with love, creating art that heals, building something that helps others, or simply living in a way that lifts those around you. Don't waste years chasing temporary highs. Instead, sit with yourself and ask, what am I truly here for? Not what's trending, not what's profitable right now, but what fills me with quiet strength, even on the hard days. That's the difference between noise and meaning, between hype and legacy. Choose purpose, not because it's easy, but because it will carry you when everything else fades. Before you go, if this video sparked something in you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful book summaries that can transform your mindset and your life. Drop a comment below and tell us which lesson hit you the hardest, and let us know which book you want us to summarize next. Until then, stay curious, stay strong, and keep growing.